Hello and welcome to The Real Episode 1.
It's a true time terror!
Tea time terror.
Oh! Hi! Welcome to the first episode of our Tea Time Terror series. I'm Emily Rodriguez.
And I'm Rick Cocchieri.
And in this segment, Rick will tell me a story from a horror film that he's watched, and I will react to it. Because I don't watch horror. I don't do that. But Rick loves it.
This is your one and only spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert! If you plan to watch this film and you don't want to know the ending, bye.
Maybe just watch half.
Yeah.
So, and we're doing this over tea. So today I have a Chinese white tea.
And I have a Thai iced tea, but it's not iced, it's actually hot. I'm cheating.
So today's movie is a movie I've seen once before. I really thought it was a good one to talk about because it really is a lot of build-up and a lot of character conversation and stuff to really look at there.
I have no idea what's about to come.
So, the movie's called Spiral. There's several movies called Spiral. This one's from 2019. It's a Canadian film director named Curtis David Harder. And what I find really interesting about him is he's 26, or he was 26, and he's already had 10 films. He actually has a newer film called Influencer, which I thought sounded good.
I feel so unaccomplished.
So, yeah, right, exactly. The movie starts with a flashback to December 12th, 1983, where two young male teenagers are kissing in the backseat of a car when some headlights fill the car's cabin. So fast forward and ahead in the scene, and one of the teenagers is being attacked and is laying on the ground. So 12 years later, and it becomes obvious that one of the main characters is the one that was not attacked in the beginning, but suffered that trauma. So in 1995, 12 years later, same-sex couple Malik and Aaron are driving in the car with their 16-year-old stepdaughter Kayla when all of a sudden something hits the windshield and forms a spiral-shaped crack. A bit of foreshadowing and already a drop of the title. So, very quick. First 2 minutes, really. Fast forward to later that night and you can see them having settled into their new rural home away from the big city of Chicago. Malik is telling Kayla the story of how he lost his virginity in his 20s to a man who turned out to be a total jerk. I found it odd that he was talking to his stepdaughter about this. All of them turn out to be jerks except for your dad, said Malik, revealing that Aaron is Kayla's biological father. We did later find out Aaron is separated from Kayla's mom. We also learned Malik was more of a party animal back in his day. Had a history of drug experimentation. Later that night, a hooded figure seen staring into one of their windows. The first really weird thing to start happening.
Oh, gosh.
The next morning, Malik, who's a stay-at-home writer, unpacks a home computer and some broken glasses that actually have a significant backstory. They belong to the teenager that teenage Malik was making out with in the beginning of the movie, the one who was attacked in 1983. Malik greets a new neighbor and doesn't get a response. He says hi, kind of waves. The guy looks directly at him and he's like, walks away. Kayla's talking to her boyfriend on the phone, who's back in the big city of Chicago, and seems to have respect for Aaron, the dad. They seem to have had a rapport. He's like, hey, Mr. So-and-so on the other side of the phone, asking him how he is and all that. So then he leaves the room. He can still hear the boyfriend through the door, and it gets to a point in the conversation where he's telling his girlfriend, Aaron's daughter, don't share drinks with your dad and Malik. So, stigma there. Also this is based in 1995. So later that night, Malik heard something outside the window, went downstairs only to see it was some tree branches hitting the house in the wind. He cuts the branch off the next morning. Aaron answers the door inside, introduced to a new neighbor who introduces herself as Tiffany. She's holding a potted plant, a housewarming gift, a big flower that's yet to bloom. Aaron introduces Malik as his partner. She had originally thought he was the gardener. She seems overly excited to have a new homosexual couple in the neighborhood, stating, nothing ever changed around here. Oh, how exciting. She said a couple of those things like that. Kayla goes out to apply for jobs pretty quickly. She wants to get to meet people probably. She's young. She's a teenager. Sees a male teenage face as she's riding her bike. He's smoking a cigarette, cool as a cucumber on a red car. Might have been a muscle car. I can't recall. He's later identified as Tyler, who's actually Tiffany's son, the woman who came with the plant as the housewarming gift.
But Tyler's supposed to be the cool guy in the neighborhood.
Yeah, he's the only other kid, actually, which is weird, probably.
Limited pickings.
Well, there could be a reason for that. Malik goes for a jog to kind of unwind. He's already starting to get suspicious of things. He comes home later and there's a homophobic slur spray painted onto the wall in their dining room, inside the house. So somebody broke in, obviously, to do this.
Oh, no.
He paints over it, doesn't say anything. Kayla later reveals that she found a job already that started a nice little dance party scene that kind of was, you can tell they've done this before. They're like, this calls for dance party. They were very prepared. So again, someone's staring through their window. A neighbor, maybe? I don't really know yet.
But they don't know.
No, not yet.
Okay, but we know.
We know. We're seeing that. Yes, that's all in the scenery or in the scene. Malik doesn't tell Aaron about the slur. Just installs a new, very expensive security system. With Aaron's money. On the house, Malik's discussing this on the phone with his best friend Liam later. So Liam's new character. We don't get to see him. It's his best friend over the phone. Malik and Aaron get invited to a neighborhood party hosted by Tiffany and her husband, Marshall. Malik is feeling uncomfortable and starting to really not like it in the town. He's starting to sense something's not right. He doesn't know what, but he knows that there's some hatred, perhaps, towards them. Later that night, the same man attempts to break into the house, setting off the alarm system and causing Malik to run downstairs and confront the man. The man turns out to be neighbor, Mr. Reinhardt, who is an older man. He hands him what seems to be a blank piece of paper, says, "Take it and don't tell anyone." Then he starts to act confused as the other neighbors turn their lights on in the neighborhood and really get an idea of what's going on. He's like, "I've lost my keys. Have you seen my keys? I get so confused."
Reinhardt.
Yeah, Mr. Reinhardt, this neighbor. Maybe another suspicious neighbor. Very suspicious of the other. So Malik's starting to become very suspicious now and starts to investigate while Aaron insists on a refund for the alarm system. Kayla is actually hanging out with Tyler at this point, playing video games. So they're starting to form a relationship in a way, Kayla and Tyler. Malik sees the neighbors performing what looks like a ritual or a seance later that night, where the neighbors are all swinging side to side, holding hands in a circle, yet through a big old bay window or something. It was weird. The curtains were, just close the curtains. They didn't close the curtains. This spooked Malik. He took a picture, didn't realize flash was on. We've all been there. Oh. And yeah, so they saw it. They closed the curtains after that. So, the game is on between Malik and the rest of the neighborhood. Aaron's not seeing it yet. The next morning, Mr. Reinhardt's getting taken away in an ambulance, dead. Tiffany and Marshall pop up by Malik and Aaron, who seem concerned, and say, "Yeah, he died. And last night we were paying our respects." It turned into kind of a celebration, really, which supposedly is what Malik saw last night, some sort of celebration. Malik remains suspicious, I would, and breaks into the deceased Mr. Reinhardt's house. Very bold, right? To search for clues. He sees a picture of him with his wife and daughter. The grandson walks in, which causes Malik to drop the picture in a panic. He's able to hide and escape somewhere off scene. We didn't really see how exactly he got out. But Tyler and Kayla continue to flirt, get closer. When Kayla confesses she has a boyfriend back home, Tyler seems upset by this, like he really likes her, I guess, and tells her, "Yeah, you better figure that out." Yeah. Right. All of a sudden, some person really far away, Tyler catches an eye of him, and he's like, "You see that?" And she looks, it's a guy, and he starts charging at them from across this whole bridge. And they have enough time to escape. He's like, "Let's go. This is weird." They have the car, so they just drive off. But weird. Malik continues to want to avoid the neighbors, and Aaron thinks he's being ridiculous and actually states, "You always do this when we try and go out with some normal people, blah, 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 blah," kind of shaming him in a way.
It was just a celebration.
Yeah, well, Malik really could have told him about the slur painted on the wall, but he didn't. They go to Tiffany and Marshall's house anyway, where Malik sneaks into Marshall's office to search for clues. Another bold move by this character. He's just breaking into everything. He sees a dark book with a spiral on it and some framed family portraits. Marshall comes in and expresses that it's his blue coat great something or another relative, but the portrait bears a very striking resemblance to another character that we know, Tyler. Maybe good genes, like everybody's got that thick genes of like the ancestor looks exactly like your great grandson. I mean, it's possible with genetics.
Wow.
Some people really look like their other family member, like dead ringers, but still strange. Malik begins to relive the trauma from 1983, which makes it harder to concentrate on his writing. Kayla sees Tyler with another girl outside of the window. The grandson of Mr. Reinhardt visits Malik, stating his grandfather was unwell and was very concerned and was like, did he give you anything? Which was a really weird question, I think. Did he give you anything? Malik lied immediately and said, no, why? And the grandson said they're calling it a suicide, and Malik seems to have a visual hallucination all of a sudden. They're calling it a suicide, I'm so distressed. He was sitting over on the chair across from him, and then all of a sudden he's sitting right here next to him to his right, which causes Malik to go, what the? It seemed like almost like a visual hallucination, or Malik lost a chunk of time of the conversation. Just very strange. Don't know exactly what's going on there yet. The grandson, Matthew, which at first seems like some kind of sigh of grief, goes and hugs Malik. But then it turns into something different where Aaron's kind of caressing his neck and really flirting with him in that moment, enamoring him or whatever, and then Aaron walks in and sees that. Malik seemed to have been in a trance, is really what it looked like. Fast forward, there's a dead rodent that starts bleeding through the ceiling from the attic into Kayla's room, onto her, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, she thought she was bleeding, woke up in the middle of the night. Turns out that was that rodent. Malik suspects foul play, obviously, because he's been suspecting foul play and seeing foul play firsthand. Aaron doesn't. It's one of those horror movies where only one character is really privy to all of the crazy stuff that's going on, and everyone else thinks they're nuts. So Malik starts having nightmares and hallucinations. He's losing sense of time. At one point, he has an epiphany in some moment of clarity, which compels him to soak the note that Mr. Reinhardt gave him in water. It reveals numbers covering the entire surface. Malik goes to the library to search through records with these numbers, where he discovered a murder-suicide occurred between two homosexual females in Rusty Creek, that's the name of the town, 10 years ago. Exactly 10 years, pretty much. He recognizes one of the women in the couple as Mr. Reinhardt's daughter from the photo that he saw in the house. Yeah, very interesting development. Malik tries to convince Aaron to move at this point. He wants to move. He tells Aaron about the note and how Mr. Reinhardt was like, he tried to warn me, Aaron. He recounts these weird events recently, and he told him about the murder-suicide of the homosexual couple 10 years prior that he found out about. Aaron pleads with Malik, stating at this point, Tiffany and Marshall are good people, and they actually told me about that couple. They told me about those two women, Malik. If you had just spent time and talked to them and get to know them and trust them, things like that, Aaron just then was like, you think everyone's out to get you, Malik, because of your past trauma. I promise you something like that's never going to happen again to you. Malik was like, you can't promise that. Malik later calls his friend Liam, again in the garage, to discuss. We actually find out that they say it's an ex-boyfriend. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of inappropriate. He sneaks into the garage to talk to an ex-boyfriend. I think it's weird. And Liam ultimately hung up on him in this call. Malik closes the garage door, so he's closing the garage door, and he stares up at the ceiling that's coming exposed as he closes the garage door. It's a big black spiral painted on the ceiling. Yeah, someone's really doing some hardcore interior decorating in their home while they're not there, which is funny because Malik's a home writer. He's there a lot. So it must be on his jobs that they're really accomplishing all of this.
Quick painter.
I mean, right, yeah, just got him in. Malik breaks into another home, into the abandoned home of, I think it was the dead female couple had lived there. And he found a black spiral painted on the ceiling in there again. suffers a really bad hallucination this time, sees a dead girl handing him several videotapes. She then vanishes. The videotapes, he has them, but like how he really acquires them, I'm sure they were in the house somewhere, you know. We don't know. Malik returns home to find his hard drives removed from his computer.
Oh, hell no.
Aaron hands Malik romantic photos of Malik with Matthew, Mr. Reinhardt's son, which Malik denies vehemently, even though the photos are there for the audience to see as well. He says it never happened, vehemently denies it ever happened. So Aaron kicks Malik out regardless. You know, they are quite heavy photos. The photos, I mean, you can clearly see Malik is in those photos, but Malik does not remember, or maybe it didn't happen, we don't know. Something weird's going on, right? Malik then goes to Kayla's rescue. He's distressed himself, but goes to Kayla's rescue, who got into a fight in school because a girl said that she was going to give Tyler AIDS. Cruel statement, obviously. Malik tells Kayla, this town is not safe and to stop hanging out with Tyler. She promises she will, but she continues to see him anyway. In the very next scene, they're about to have sex. Kayla and Tyler, where Kayla states that she's a virgin. This prompts Tyler to suggest waiting for a better time, and Kayla thought it was weird, but Tyler was like, no, we want it to be perfect.
Candles.
Yeah, whatever. You know, whatever you got. It's fine. Malik visits Marshall, tells him what went down with Aaron, and it's revealed that Aaron is the one that asked Marshall to go through Malik's hard drive. Marshall said he found a suspicious folder, and he suggested to Malik to get help. It was just some odd statement, didn't really develop, but Malik took back the hard drive and stole the spiral notebook from the bookshelf at the same time because it was right next to it. He kind of like sleuthed it. It was, you didn't even see it on screen, but you find out he gets it. Malik goes to a motel where he starts to further unravel. He loads a revolver that he had with him, I guess, and tries to call his friend Liam. He hallucinates the shadow of a demon, and at the same... Oh, that's actually really bad. Let me say something about that. He hallucinates the shadow of a demon through the window of a motel, through a curtain, points a gun, is about to shoot, all of a sudden comes back to reality, realizes it's just a random woman going about her day. So he's in a really bad place.
That's very, what's that Shakespearean thing? I just saw it.
Hamlet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes. I need to go back to history or English class.
So he actually hallucinates the same dead girl who handed him the videotapes very briefly as well. I'm not sure if they ever really develop who she is. I do think she might be one of the people in the dead female couple, but it's hard to tell because there's, you know, she looks undead. It's hard to tell, so I'm not sure. If you know, comment for sure. He starts to watch the videotapes, which are basically home movies of the deceased female couple, which convinces Malik that every 10 years a homosexual couple is killed or attacked in Rusty Creek. He's convinced of that.
Only every 10 years.
Well, yeah, so he goes and sees that one happened in 1985, they're in 1995 now, and I think he may have watched some more off screen. They showed us one of them, but then he told Aaron later, this happens every 10 years, and he talks about the note Mr. Reinhardt had, which was all like dates and numbers of these events, basically. So Mr. Reinhardt's probably trying to save the day here, you know, is what it looks like. Malik, he's still in the hotel. While on the phone with Liam, he searches the spiral notebook and finds the same photo of Malik and Aaron that we saw earlier in the movie, but with their eyes scratched out. So it does look like someone is after Malik and Aaron with that. There's a photo of them together with their eyes scratched out in the spiral notebook. He rushes to get his medication and finds out that his pills have been switched out, holding them up to each other, and they do not match. He watches another video showing the previous couple's daughter playing the flute to When the Saints Go Marching In. And then he all of a sudden fears for Kayla's safety because it looks to him like they're going after the daughter of the couple first, or maybe she's the real target or something. We're not 100% sure yet what's really going on.
Okay.
Malik goes back to the home to find Kayla and Aaron. It's really about to go down. A birthday party is being held for Kayla, her 16th birthday party, and all the neighbors are there. Malik immediately becomes aggressive with Tiffany, asking about Kayla, where she is, and then he confronts Aaron, his husband. Aaron asks, where have you been? Basically, because it's been a week. And to the audience and to Malik, this is a surprise. It did not feel like a week. Not for us, not for Malik. More like a day or two. Malik seems to have lost sense of time. Marshall asks Malik where he's been. Malik pulls out the revolver and approaches Marshall and states that he's protecting Kayla from him, shooting him square in the chest. Tiffany and Tyler rush down to see Marshall shot. Aaron stares in horror as Marshall dies, seeing his husband kill the neighbor. Tyler runs to his dad's side, screaming at Malik. And the scene goes silent, and that's it for that. Cut, Malik is arrested. Aaron tells Malik he's putting the house up for sale and moving with Kayla back to Chicago. Malik is so relieved, only until Aaron states, "We're not running from this town, we're running from you." Malik insists he did what he had to do and says Liam agrees. Aaron's like, "Who is Liam?" Malik's like, "That's my ex-boyfriend, who do you think?" Stating it like he's supposed to know who Liam is. Yeah. Malik asks him to talk to Liam in order to understand his actions. Basically, he's been having all these calls with Liam, telling him, "Look, let Liam explain it to you, Aaron," basically like that. Aaron says, "I can't do that, Malik." Malik says, "Please, why can't you do that?" Aaron just stares shocked and just states, "I have to go." And Malik keeps screaming, "Please, please, talk to Liam. Please, talk to Liam."
I don't want to talk to Liam.
I was just protecting her, referring to Kayla, the daughter.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Malik now is reliving the trauma another time, where we, the audience, now see the full picture. We're left to put it together, really, that it's Liam, who was the boy who was actually killed in the violent attack in 1983. It was two male teenagers making out in the back of the car. Malik was one of them, Liam was the other one. And, several men with bats came up on them and actually beat Liam to death. The glasses are Liam's that he unpacked from that trauma attack. That's Liam. He's actually been dead.
So how has...
He's on like a psychotic break, perhaps. We don't know. Yeah. He does take medication every day, and his pills were switched out. He thinks they're switched out. He held them up to the audience. We saw it. They were different, but we don't know how much of that is real. So who's right? Malik is suffering a mental health episode, and he just killed a man for no reason,
oh my God.
Or at this point we're left to wonder. Was this the whole thing the product of some hallucination from Malik? Are we seeing only what Malik sees? Or is there an actual conspiracy in the neighborhood to savagely murder homosexual couples every 10 years in a ritualistic manner? Which is it? So they only really let you dwell on that for about a minute. But it felt like a long time. It was a very strong part of the movie, I think, to really go back and forth. Like, what did I just watch? Is it all a lie? What's going on? Is Malik wrong? Is the neighborhood crazy? So, not the craziest thing, actually. Fast forward, Aaron is back home with his daughter, trying to recover from the day that just happened. He consoles her in the bedroom, goes downstairs. The camera pans to the dining room table, which I didn't notice this the first time I watched it. The camera pans to the dining room table, which has Tiffany's housewarming gift, the plant, on it. That's now bloomed. It's very dark. You can't see how nice it looks. It is not pitch black. Very dark in the house. But I thought that was a cool touch. So, things are happening. Like, this flower's bloomed. There's... it's figurative for a lot of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Aaron goes to Malik's computer, sits down, and notices a VHS tape under the desk. He plays it. It's a recording of a new couple in the neighborhood, talking to Marshall and Tiffany at a neighborhood backyard party, similar to the first gathering that Malik and Aaron shared with them. Similarly, their son Tyler is chatting up the daughter of the couple on the stairs of their patio, maybe like 50 feet away. The video, he pauses it, or it pauses there. Aaron's starting to put it together now in his mind. Something's not right. While staring blankly through the TV, wondering, is Malik right? He starts to have a very big look of fear. The camera shows his back turned to many hooded figures, now standing still, glaring at him through the large bay windows of the home office. Back at jail, we'll take a second there. Malik receives a strange visit. It's Marshall.
What?
The man he just killed. Malik asks, "What the F are you?" And Marshall responds, I'm someone that's been around for a very long time. I don't like this any more than you do, but this is how it works and this is how we make it work. Basically suggesting they just take advantage of the situation to survive or thrive. You know, they don't, it's not personal, kind of, is what he's getting at. That they've done it many times. Malik tries to sacrifice himself for Kayla, and Marshall says, you know that I can't do that, it's too late. Marshall threatens to say Malik broke out of jail with drugs in his system and frame him for Kayla and Aaron's inevitable murder, saying it's murder, double murder, suicide, basically. He's like, I don't like, how did Marshall even get in the jail, you know? It didn't really show that part. He just waltzes into the jail. Like, is there no coroner or anything that's gonna, I mean, it's supposed to be a very small town, right? No one's gonna notice, hey, isn't this the man that was just shot? No one ever gets shot here, like, but I don't know. So, it's just, you know, you take that, some little baby plot holes. So, Marshall states, that is what everyone will believe because of who you are, and they're afraid of you already, and there's always going to be something to fear. It's human nature, and we just exploit it, basically. So they're just like taking advantage because of whatever it is that they need to do here in this situation, which is not even super clear yet. He exits while humming the Saints Go Marching In.
Oh.
So that was the previous couple's daughter who played that on the flute in the video previously. So it's like he knew that Malik knew. He knew that Malik watched the video of the previous couple, and he whistled that just to disturb Malik and know that he's like, I know you know, and I know, and I can do whatever I want, basically. You know, power move, basically.
What a freak.
Back at home, Aaron starts banging on Kayla's door, her bedroom door, as the hooded figures have now made their way into the house downstairs. Aaron tries to bust the door down, and after a couple attempts, it seems to open in a weird, odd, graceful way, like just, whoo, slides right open. Kayla's room is dimly lit in shades of like orange and purple, but we can't really see anything yet. The hooded figures have now crept up behind Aaron. He turns around, seeing them, backs further away into his daughter's room. Then he's like forced to turn around in a way, because, you know, you feel what's going on behind you. Forced to turn around and see the unfathomable horror.
Oh, I'm not ready.
His daughter's lying there on the bed. Her torso is torn into, hollowed out. Tyler is sitting on the very edge of the bed, facing away from her, shoveling parts of her into his mouth. Patterned with blood, spewed down his hands and forearms as if he's wearing long red gloves. He is in only his black boxer briefs, pays no attention to Aaron. Tiffany appears behind Aaron as she was one of the black hooded figures. The whole neighborhood were these black hooded figures. There was at least a dozen of them. Her black hood and her mask was off. She just is behind him and says, "Isn't it beautiful?"
Oh my god, this is why I don't watch these.
So that's pretty much the end, but you fast forward to November 7, 2005, which is exactly 10 years to the day that they had started driving in the beginning of the movie. And there's a new couple moving in to town. I don't understand how it's on the same exact day. I think that's a weird part of the movie that they can't really explain. How do you mass influence people's intentions from out of town to move into your neighborhood on the same day? I don't know if November 7th is significant in any way. So we watch the audience, and Marshall and Tiffany and Tyler are gathered around as they watch the new couple move into town. It looks like a heterosexual couple with a daughter. It's revealed that Malik was preparing a dossier on the neighborhood, downloaded it to a CD, basically, of all the news articles and all the research that he did, stashed it in the attic above the rodent stain in Kayla's room. And so the movie ends with the new couple's daughter finding the CD because she sees the stain. She's like, I'm going to go check this out in the attic. And she goes and looks, and it's the CD. It's in the 80s dance mix CD case, which I didn't really go into at all, but that was the dance party they had was to that music.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's one of those movies with a big reveal. There's a lot of build-up and then a big reveal. Although it's only like an hour and 25 minutes, it's very short. All this, the big meat's unraveling in the last 25 minutes. Most of it, you're left to really wonder in certain parts who's right. Is it Malik or is he just crazy? We didn't really. You're prone to believe Malik, obviously, for nearly the whole movie. until that moment of time where he shoots, Marshall gets arrested, and then there's just like no proof of anything.
Yeah.
So, but then, you know, you find out he's right, obviously. So, I guess, I don't know, do you have any burning, lingering?
Yeah, so...
It's a wild movie. It's like a huge payoff movie. And I'm kind of into the ritualistic cult looking stuff, although they don't really dive into any of that. It's more of a shock value movie. But I liked it because I did not see that coming from this movie. I did not see something that dark coming. I thought it was a little less dark. I knew that maybe it involved murder, but not like ritualistic, some kind of sacrifice, cannibalistic, immortal thing. Because Marshall's like, what? He's immortal. Right? If Marshall showed up again, how'd that happen? So we don't know a lot. Which is cool in a way. It's mysterious. It leaves the mystery, but they can easily make a sequel to explain some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll say
I feel like a lot of these horror movies do that. They leave they leave it like open-ended so that they can do a part 2.
We found out that the director's only in his 20s. I'm sure he has time. No, so like what I didn't like, there's no real lore. There's so many unanswered questions. The spiral notebook, what's the significance of the spiral notebook? We get little glances of it in the hotel room with Malik, but it's just like, you know, has a Baphomet, like a demonic figure drawn in it. You can't read any of the writing that they show. Certain parts are like out of focus. You can tell that it's not really a main part of the movie. They didn't really develop what's in that notebook or how the notebook is significant or how it fits into their ritualistic 10-year cycle of what is it actually. Because I'm like, I knew at the very end when it reveals Tyler's eating her, I'm like, that's why he said no when he found out that she was a virgin. Mm-hmm. That's why he said no.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, is him eating virgins somehow immortalizing the family?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
You've never been? You sound tasty.
Oh, if you heard this one before, please stop me if you have. Like, what I did like, though, was you could watch the movie and get to a point where I'd say it's like for 30 seconds or a minute only, you think, oh my God, Malik is crazy.
Yeah.
You get to that point for maybe 30 seconds. Because watching it the second time, I was like, wow, I'm looking at all the facial expressions of the neighbors. They're dead on fine. Like, they can be normal. The level of deceit and the level of acting amongst the neighbors for every facial expression, every time they were questioned, it all makes you legitimately question whether or not Malik is the problem and hallucinated all of these things. Did he hallucinate the slur on the wall and then paint it because he didn't tell anyone, right? So, like, did he hallucinate that? I mean, obviously he didn't. And we also get evidence later that he didn't, and I didn't touch on it in the motel when he's watching the videos of the female couples. A similar slur was spray painted onto their house.
Oh, wow.
So we get bits to put things together, but you can get to that point because the neighbors, I mean, obviously they're all actors to begin with, right? And it's a movie, but it is a wild payoff because you can go back and look and be like, oh wow, did he hallucinate everything? So in a way, it's a psychological thriller too, I think.
Well, I'm glad I didn't watch it.
What I liked was it reminded me of Eugene Toombs from X-Files Season 1, who some of you may know about. That I don't remember how long his cycle was, but he needed it just to hibernate. He needed to eat human livers to hibernate. I think 3 people every, 10 years, 25 years? I think it was a longer period of time, like 25 years or something. Because he lived in like this old dilapidated building in, is it New York City? I think it must be. It was weird. I was old too. That show was made around the time this movie was set in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting too.
Did you watch this by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh. When did you watch this?
The first time I watched it was probably only several months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hadn't. And I only just watched it again the other day to kind of write this. So I came up with some kind of rubric that I would grade these movies on, not in a way to grade them for quality or anything. Overall, I did enjoy this movie. I think you should watch it if you like this kind of stuff. So I'm calling it the distress score. So now this is not going to be any kind of way to say what movie's better from another movie. I don't really want to do that. I'm just going to say, like, how distressed was I? Because I don't get distressed easily. So I feel like these are all good. So it'll be out of 5 metrics. So the scoring will be out of 5. Number 1 is a jaw-dropping moment. And actually this movie, yeah, because like I said, I did not expect it to get so dark, and I did not see cannibalistic stuff coming. So that was a jaw-dropping moment. The image that was shown with Tyler, eating Kayla, that was, yes. The second one is, do I have to shut the movie off because it's too disturbing? No. Covering of the face or eyes? No. The heebie-jeebies, which I can best describe as like being afraid to go turn the light off or go to the fridge or something like that? No. And then not being able to sleep because the images of the horror are seared into my brain. And no. So this one gets a 1 out of 5. Yeah, for the jaw-dropping moment alone.
Okay.
But it's good. It's part of the big reveal. It's a wind-up movie. You're going to probably only watch it once. But I'd say you'd remember it. But it also has a good message because it really does kind of showcase like how evil hate is, and how people can be targeted for their preferences and things like that. So, and the stigma, especially in 1995 where the movie's set. So it has good messages in it. Because we all want our horror movies to have a good take-home message, a good positive message for the kids, So, that's it for me, I think. Film? Overall, I'd say yes, watch it if you're a horror fan. Chances are, if someone wants to watch this video, they've probably seen the movie or don't care.
Yeah.
Which is fine, obviously.
Or you're like me and you're like, I'm never watching that, so I might as well just hear the whole story.
Definitely good shock value. So,
cheers.
Cheers. I wonder if it's still warm. Not the worst.
Thank you all for watching.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed telling this beautiful, heartwarming story. See you next time.
Why do I keep doing this?
I don't know. I didn't tell you.
That's it. That's the one.